TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else!
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuit!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Dancing at Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premier podcast TV party tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And that over there, tipping a glass, is Pat. I swear no homicidal impulses. Mullin, otherwise known as the Punchy Pugilist or Baron Von Awesome, depending on which day of the week you find him. How you doing, Pat?
But when the weekend's over and Monday rolls around, I end up like I start out, just crying my heart out. She don't love me like I love her. Nobody could. I've got it bad.
Thank you.
And that ain't good. I've got it bad. And that ain't good.
I didn't want to interrupt your singing, but I just had my wife bring me an alcoholic beverage. So, cheers.
Cheers to you, my friend. And I feel like that song was fitting for this podcast.
It is.
Thank you, Tobias Beecher, for the inspiration.
Yeah, Pat, we're here to discuss you tonight. That's our favorite. That tonight is our favorite show. A couple of points of order. This was actually Jason's idea. Jason's having some camera troubles tonight. So he's there on the screen, but he's muted and his camera's frozen, and he'll be in and out of this. So before we started the show tonight, we were talking about, Jason was going to be drinking, Pat's going to be drinking, and I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if my wife brought me alcohol while we were recording?
Which I saw, the entire green mug, which is fantastic.
I had a whole thing planned.
I don't have a wife, so I relate to you in this, so it's fine.
Well, the funny thing was, I had a whole thing planned. I wanted her to be like, I brought you your drink, master, and like wiggle her nose and everything. But you were singing, so she kind of had to do the whole thing silent movie like. It's fine.
You should have just queued her up later. Come on, it would have been fine.
She wanted to go to bed. It was like, I kind of looked over at him like, I can't stop Pat from singing. What do you want from me?
I'm sorry, Melissa. This is my fault.
Do I get to defend myself?
Melissa, this is my fault. You're good.
I heard you complaining about
nothing is ever Pat's fault.
What now?
You said I heard you complaining that I ruined your bit.
No.
Melissa, this is my fault. I 100% take blame for this.
Okay, Pat is 100% taking the blame.
Okay,
good.
We couldn't get
Listen,
to my bit because he was doing a bit. We had dueling bits.
And mine was
Now
singing,
that I've
so I had to
worked,
do it.
14 hours today. I'm going to bed.
Okay, well, look, comedy before bed. That's how this marriage works.
Please don't turn this into season 2.
Hello!
All right, get out of here. Everyone leave me alone. This is why
Guys,
I
we have
podcast when
Jason
people
and
aren't
we have
around.
good camera and good audio, so let's go to that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jason, how are you?
I'm back. I'm on a show with Pat, and I'm very happy. I think that me and Pat's going to have a very nice, true, fun experience with my 32 ounces of concoction here, and Pat's feeling fine, I can tell. So, Mark, you're in for a good ride.
Yeah, no, this will be fun. My wife made me something with Jim Beam in it, so whatever. Hey, I got a question.
I'm the only one drinking clear liquor tonight. I'm sorry, fellas.
It's all right. There's never a wrong time for whiskey or clear liquor. All right, Jason, so as I said in the chat, and I'll say it a lot nicer than the way Jim Cornette said it that I repeated, this was your idea. You wanted to talk about you, and so I said, okay, we'll get it on the schedule and we'll do it. We're going to break it into seasons. I can't do all 30 episodes at once. But I had a sort of strange thought here because I was looking at the history of the show, and season 1 started off on Lifetime before it moved to Netflix, which begs the question, what do two manly men like you do watching Lifetime? How did that happen?
Well, actually,
Okay.
yes. I mean, anytime to talk about me is a good time, my opinion. So, I mean, thanks for that, Mark. I buy you a couple of drinks and you become my best friend. So there was that. But this actually came to me because I'm married. I have a wife who likes watching random shit. And a girl at work, we was on this like lull of all of our favorite shows being, on a hiatus and everything. And a girl she worked with was like,
accurate. Last Rider 216.
It was one of those. We was in a lull, like I said, and they mentioned, well, there's this. It started out on Lifetime, which we didn't watch it on Lifetime. It first came over to Netflix. The first season was on Netflix, as when we started watching it, and it was one of those things that they said, this is an utter shit show that your husband would love. And she goes, why do you say that? It's like, because the main character is such a horrible person, but he's not the worst person on the show. You actually like him because everybody else is total shitbags. And she went, that's right up Jason's alley. So that's how I got to it.
Okay. So you weren't watching Lifetime, like, with the box of tissues and ice cream in your hands, and you're like, and then like You comes on, you're like, let me stay tuned for this. You got it.
I never said that, but no, that's not how I came. That's not how I came to watching You. That's you seen me when
At least
I was
you're married,
Lifetime.
Jay. There's an excuse built in. You can use it. It's okay.
You're talking about a Saturday night on Lifetime Movie Network, not when You was on. I was talking about the 1980s Burning Bed. But we won't go into that.
It's funny, in the chat we've been talking about Oz, and it's amazing that you managed to find a show for me to watch with less likable characters than the entire 6 seasons of Oz. It's fantastic. All right, what about you, Muscles? How did you end up watching a show on Lifetime of all places?
I just like to point out that in the corner there you see the poster for the movie over the top. That's me retaining.
I want you to know, in addition to redoing the Rocky Long Road to Ruin that you and I decided we're doing next year when Samaritan comes out, we're also re-airing the over-the-top alternative commentary.
Oh, so
you're
good.
Welcome.
Hello, Ronnie Adams. No, so it's funny. I didn't get into this show when it was on Lifetime, although I will freely admit here, and this is a full confession, I love Lifetime / Hallmark Christmas movies. I hate the holiday. I love the movies. I love Danica McKellar and Candace Cameron Bure and all of the various divas associated with Lifetime Christmas and Hallmark Christmas movies. I love y'all. But I caught this show when it premiered on Netflix because people kept recommending it to me. No, it's not one of those typical Lifetime shows. Like, no, the guys. And all I could think of when I thought of like Lifetime shows is like Army Wives and what else was on Lifetime at the time? Re-airings of Bad Blood with Christina Cox and like stuff I really tried to appreciate and couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, you know what? I've got, it's pandemic. Let's, we don't have anything going on. Let's watch this show. And this was after I watched Tiger King and Unorthodox. So you could see what my habits were like at the time.
Sure.
And I was like, you know what? This is actually kind of well crafted. I don't know if I'm just yearning for new content or what, but I like this show. They set it in parts in Brooklyn, which is cool because I knew where most of the locations were.
Yeah.
And, I was like, you know what? This isn't a guy I want to root against because everybody sucks, much as Jason pointed out. So I swear no homicidal impulse is based on what I watched, but,
I'm going to pitch something real quick, Mark.
Yes,
since Pat did say that he loves Hallmark Christmas movie,
mm-hmm.
I now want to see Pat be a guest star on my wife's podcast and cover a Christmas movie with Amber. That is now my goal.
I think we should make that happen. All right, so
we'll talk about this offline. We'll talk about this off the show, Jay. But I'm all ears. Okay, so you just let me know.
So the first season of You, based on the novel of the same name by Caroline Kepnes, debuted in April of 2017, and then it was shipped off to Netflix for seasons 2, and now just dropping season 3. This is yet another Greg Berlanti show. Yeah.
It's very Berlanti.
Greg Berlanti. Oh my God. I haven't seen something this Berlanti since
season 3 of Arrow.
I was going to say since he took over Supergirl.
I don't watch Supergirl, so that's fair.
Yeah, this is it's so funny. Like I wanted to do this and I wanted to talk about it, but I'm now realizing that this is Jason getting me back for things. This is like I'm going to make Mark watch a terrible show.
Also, in addition to being very buzzed, my neighbors are smoking some incredible weed, and it's coming over.
So this just gets better and better, Mark.
Absolutely.
Disaster. All right. So, Jason, you said, hey, let's not do the usual TV party tonight structure, which is we go episode by episode. Let's kind of go back to the way I used to do it, which is to sort of go through the cast and talk about generally what happens instead of breaking it down episode by episode. So this is not a hard show to understand. A really, really smart guy in a bookstore falls in love with a really, really shitty girl in the bookstore. And he Facebook stalks her for a while, figures out based on her social media what she's all about, does the math on her, and then proceeds to inject himself into her life and one by one start eliminating obstacles, toxic people, etc. in her life. When you initially pitched this to me, you were like, oh, it's about a serial killer. And when he's sitting there struggling over killing the first guy, I was like, he's not a serial killer. He's turning into one. But like he didn't start off that way, which leads to the second thing that happens in this series, which bears some conversation. It is implied he killed his last girlfriend until dun dun dun. Spoilers, she shows up in the final minutes of the final episode of season 1. So what the fuck?
I thought of if you guys have ever seen True Romance by Tony Scott, I always think of James Gandolfini's speech that he gives to Patricia Arquette, where he's like, the first one's hard. I threw up on the first one. You believe that? The second one, though, it's still hard, but it's diluted, and that's kind of what we see. Our pal Joe Goldberg going through a little bit during this first season.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to point this out. Now the only likable characters on this show, like the redeemable one, is the guy he works with in the store.
Yeah.
Paco.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, Paco.
And the friend that's the quote unquote racist friend that Peach outs for
Annika.
Yeah. But
I
that's
don't even think she's likable, but go on.
Well, compared to the rest of the people, those 3 people are the only people.
The least problematic thing we have. It's fine.
Well, Blythe wasn't that bad. They set her up to be somebody. Yeah.
Now by Blythe, you mean Brian?
No. Oh, yeah.
Because her Adam's apple is bigger than mine.
Yeah, she wasn't that bad, but the way they introduced her, you thought that it was going to be like she was going to be this like Beck 2.0 that, and then she just like fizzles out and she becomes, Beck's publicist. And you're like, what the fuck? But this show, okay, everybody, we'll get to this later, but why is everybody
take the ball and run with it? There's no formal structure at this point.
Yeah, why is everybody's least favorite character Peach? I'm going to start there.
Ample reason for that, but we'll go.
Yeah, Mark, I want to know, you asked me and Pat, what did you think about after you got about 3 episodes in, and you realized what the fuck Teasley got me into?
Do you remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer quits his job and he goes to work for the bowling alley, but then he gets again with Maggie at the end of the episode? He covers up the thing so it says, "Remember, you're doing it for her." So I'm watching this in the bedroom. My wife's reading one of her dirty novels, and she just hears me murmuring to myself.
Joan Collins or Danielle Steele?
Melissa! What smutty author are you reading now? Come here.
Oh, this is going off the rails quick.
Put pants on and come here and tell Pat what smutty author you're reading.
Just say Danielle Collins or Joan Steele.
Not either one. She's first of
Or
all,
Danielle Steele or Joan Collins. I'm sorry. I'm half in the bag, guys.
We're
Just
into
intermingled.
novels.
Intermingled, Pat. They're intermingled.
Which one is Fabio on the cover on going like this?
Well, she also reads them on her Kindle, so I don't see the artwork.
You mean whatever into that?
Yes, Jonas. Thank you for cracking jokes at your mother's expense.
Strike him for being up past his bedtime.
So anyway,
heathen.
Well, so what? So yeah, I'm seeing. She's just mumbling to myself, and she's like, "What are you mumbling about? What's going on over there?" And I'm like, "Fucking hate Teasley. I hate Teasley. I don't want to watch this. This is the stupidest show. Oh my god, why am I being made to? I watch peak television. I watch Watchmen and The Wire.
Wait, Melissa's there.
Yeah, hang on. Here, just take the earphones.
Melissa,
Yes.
are you reading Danielle Steele or Joan Collins?
Neither. I'm reading somebody named Samantha Cole.
Oh my goodness.
I don't read those. Those are like old lady smut.
But those are prime smutty novels.
Those are old lady smut novels.
But with
I read-
Fabio on the cover tearing his shirt.
No, my
Oh,
books.
my God.
Well, my books do have like scantily clad men, but
Oh God, this is going off the rails quick.
The smutty Disney books, right?
no, this is not the smutty Disney books. This is the one that takes place in Tampa and their
Okay,
former
right,
Navy
right.
SEALs. Yeah. Oh no. the
Oh,
one-
that's a little close to home. Mark, cut those off. Come on.
Yeah.
No, but the good ones there's some really good ones where they took Disney villains and like really well-known Disney characters and turned them into BDSM club members.
So basically, they took that what is that Disney show and they just turned it up to like 11 and smut.
Yeah, Lily likes it. Instead of like all my second graders.
No, this is no. No, I'm out. I'm done.
Oh no, you haven't lived until you've read about Jafar after Jasmine. Oh yeah, and Tinkerbell. Come on, Tinkerbell and Captain Hook, man. Whew.
No,
What
I
the
understand
fuck did
why
this
you
show
call
turn
Captain Hook.
into?
I don't want to venture into that more. No.
Look, Teasley, you always talk
No, I'm
about
going
how
to
I'm
get
the
vodka.
MVP.
This is it.
He's getting vodka.
I'm going to need another drink after this. Me and my wife might have hall sex. We might actually walk by each other and scream "fuck you" tonight.
Exactly. I'm telling you, you got to get your wife reading these books, my friend. This is
No,
what
my
happens.
wife has porn. It's those mail order porn books. This is I call them mail order porn books because they come very discreetly in a brown package, and I go out to the mailbox and I scream through the house. Yes, Descendants of 50 Shades of Grey. That's what you read.
Yeah.
Remember we were going to talk about you? How did this descend into Disney porn? Good Lord.
But you is Gossip Girl.
Okay,
is nasty
but-
on you. I was very
Okay,
upset.
first of all, Gossip Girl is not the same thing.
Over and do this fucking podcast.
Gossip Girl, okay, he was
We
typing
got the
rumors,
MVP
whatever.
back.
Hillary Duff kissed the girl. It was amazing. I was in an episode where they filmed by the Russian tea room.
Yes.
That's Gossip Girl. This is different. This is not that.
But the guy is Gossip Girl.
Yeah,
Yes, but
Amber
he's a
had a
different
real.
character. This isn't related. He's Joe Goldberg. He's not, whatever the guy's name was.
He's not A. He's not A. Okay, he's not A. Was that Gossip Girl? It's something like that.
No, I don't remember what
No,
it
that was
was.
A was Pretty Little Liars.
Pretty Little Liars.
Why do me and you know this shit, Pat? That really bothers Mark. I can tell.
He doesn't
That
know
mean
what-
you
I don't think anything bothers
Yes.
Mark. It's fine.
He has no idea what anybody's saying. I'm wearing the headphones. He has no idea what's going on.
Mark,
Yeah, but when he listens
read my lips.
back,
It's fine.
yeah, it's fine. Okay, so we started talking about you. We went down to BDSM
rabbit hole.
Descendants.
Good night.
So, good night, Melissa.
So
Okay, so let's bring this back on
So
the
you-
track, Mark.
yes, yeah, go ahead. Well, basically, look, I this is definitely nighttime telly soap opera type stuff. This is very Berlanti.
That's where we left off. Go on.
But look, look, I can deal with trashy television, and that's kind of what this was.
It's kind of what 90% of your podcasts are.
You know what this kind of reminded me of? A very poorly written Melrose Place. You know,
You're
you
assuming
shut your
Melrose
whore mouth.
Place was not poorly written.
okay. So,
Dr. Peter Burns was not exactly a plethora of good.
What I'm trying to say is, so we can move this conversation along and answer Jason's question directly, it just felt like primetime network soap opera, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And it's not usually what I would watch, and Jason was excited about this. Clearly you are too. So I was like, as I told Alexis earlier today, when people are excited about stuff, then that gets me excited to talk about it, even if it's not particularly in my wheelhouse. All right. So let's talk about Joe Goldberg for a little bit.
Can you please?
Yes. So I guess the first thing about him, and you guys can kind of weigh in on this. We'll just kind of go around and around. It's a bit of a slow go at first because, and I talked about this the other night actually, about how much I really, really hate. I was talking about this with Gavin. I hate the television trope now of watching someone play with their cell phone, or
I thought you were going to say play with themselves, and I was like,
no,
what kind of
that's
TV
fine.
are you watching, Mark?
No, that's
that's fine. That's solid TV. Well,
yeah,
she does use the pillow a lot.
It's just like the whole idea of like watching someone mess with their cell phone or seeing what's on the cell phone or the tablet on the screen. And so much of the first episode is him just Googling and going on Facebook and doing like God, somebody said to me at work the other day, they're like, I didn't know you could reverse Google image search. And I'm like, yeah, I do it all the time. For my podcast. my podcast.
You have to think about this. Like if we were watching TV in 1986 and like, you know, Hardcastle and McCormick were trying to figure something out.
Right.
That's not an option to them.
Right.
Nowadays, that's the easiest route to go about finding that stuff out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make for compelling television.
Right.
Like I'll completely agree with you with that. But it's a realistic option that's now, and we have to present that as something where it kind of kills a lot of the TV fun of it, where, you know, say Tubbs and Crockett found this thing and they're going to have to look for it via the hard way by hitting the streets. We don't hit the streets anymore. It's kind of sad.
You're 100% right about that, Pat. And that's what I was saying. Like the lost art of the mystery on television showed in an aesthetically pleasing way is gone. I was joking with Gavin. Like, I wish we would just give up social media and go back to like inkwells and parchment.
I'm just saying the way to do it is to go back to period pieces. Let's set everything before 1995 and we're all good.
Perfect. Done.
I say go back to the 80s just to you know, be in Pat's element.
Not wrong.
But yeah, so it's a slow go at first, Jason, just to kind of see him. See, here's the thing, and this is what I kind of want your opinion on. He falls in love with Beck almost instantly, but I don't know. She's a pretty basic bitch, and the more you learn about her, the more you realize that she's kind of broken, not totally broken. She's functional, but she's definitely one of those girls who's going out of her way to seek out negative attention. But there's only a million of those out there, and they made her seem so much like she was a diamond in the rough. But to me, she was so basic that I don't enjoy Joe as a character. Like I haven't watched Dexter, so I don't know if this totally tracks, but there's something about like the Dexter character or some of the, or, you know, or what I did watch, Mackie was clearly a sociopath on The Shield, but he had all kinds of charisma and he was dangerous and he was badass and he was masculine and you liked him despite the shitty things he did. There's nothing about that with Joe, and him falling head over heels over this basic bitch made it even worse for me, Jason.
Well, I mean, you know, if she was any more basic, she'd be carrying around a Starbucks cup dressed as Han Solo. But that's beside the point. But yeah, she is totally a basic bitch. But the fact that he has that obsessive personality that if anybody gives him attention, he latches onto. Right. And that's so she kind of caught his eye, and then she engaged in him. And then then that addictive personality, that obsessive, the OCD of wanting her. You see the slow burn to where he becomes basically obsessive and a stalker. And then you found out that, he's not her only stalker. That we'll get into that a little bit when we talk about characters. But this is, in the first 3 episodes, you're like, okay, he's jerking off outside of her window while an old lady comes out and catches a cab. You're like, okay. And some of the shit is just so unrealistic, like, just blending in.
Unrealistic?
Blending in by just wearing a hat. Yeah. And
I'm gonna
you
tell
always
you guys,
see the memes.
I live in Brooklyn where, like, this is supposed to take place at certain points in Greenpoint. There's a million motherfuckers with hats and a fucking generic jacket with no logo. Okay. You're going to fucking see everybody who does that shit. And again, as Robert Winfrey points out, what about public masturbation in New York is unrealistic? Well, y'all didn't walk by my apartment building this morning if you think that's not a real thing. Just saying.
Oh, God, Pat. But
and I live in a nice neighborhood.
You live in Park Slope?
Yes, exactly, Mark.
Yeah, you live with the Jews. Like they're
well, there's
Mark, you can't say Jew.
The hipsters and the old money.
Mark, you can't say Jew.
Mark's a Jew. He can say Jew. It's fine.
I was like, but that's what they are. I didn't say dirty Jews. I just said Jews. The Jewish people, many of them live in Park Slope.
Out of this shit show.
They really don't, though. It's really more at this point. Williamsburg, Borough Park.
I was gonna say, did all the Hasidics move out of Park Slope?
Yeah, it's more Borough Park, Bed-Stuy, Borough Park, Bed-Stuy, Williamsburg, a little bit into Midwood. Yeah, it's a little different since you left.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was there in like the early 2000s, and I used to sometimes have to catch the train. What is the train station in Brooklyn? The big one, obviously not Penn Station.
Atlantic Avenue.
Yeah. I used to have to catch that, and I would have to walk through Park Slope, and it was just nothing but Hasidic Jews, and and the lost tribes of Israel, which were my favorite.
No, so in Kensington we had the Lions of Judah, which was fantastic. But go on.
Anyway, let's. So Pat, keeping with you instead of our tour of Brooklyn. So what did you think of Joe? Let's just keep it general. What did you think of the Joe character? I clearly didn't love him. So
here's the thing. Okay, and I'm gonna be odd about this. There's no other way to do it. The neighborhood I lived in at the time I lived in, I was probably more. This is gonna be odd to say, and I feel weird about it. Sexually mature than most people the same age group.
Mm-hmm.
So like 13 is when I started experimenting with sex and stuff, and Joe is kind of like the guy who meets that girl who. He's like, oh, shit, this girl's really cool. If I bang her, we're probably going to be soulmates. That you think of when you're like 13, 14.
Right.
And,
he's still in first crush phase.
Yeah. And I can tell you from personal experience that, the girl you meet at 13, 14 and you bang and everything's great. It's awesome.
Right.
You don't end up marrying her 99% of the time.
Right.
So that's kind of where he is emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
He's very emotionally stunted versus everything else. Like intellectually, he's fine. He's read a ton of books, which is great. He works his job and does all the things you're supposed to do as an adult. But when it comes to relationships, he's kind of very novice and naive and doesn't understand what it really entails to do that. So a lot of people, the first time they fall in love with a hoe. It just is what it is.
Sure.
Usually the first, thing you catch is a hoe and you hit the hoe and you're like, oh my God, this is crabs come in certain aspects.
The nice thing about dating a whore is that when you have a deep need for attention, what we learned over the course of season 1 is Joe was abused and neglected. Comes from foster care. His parents were an issue. Was raised by the bookstore guy who locked him, in a clear closet. Mooney. Yeah, so he clearly has some personality disorder issues. He's got some mental health issues going on, which rear themselves throughout it. But I think one of the things that was, I'm going to use the word triggering, just for lack of a better word, triggering for me about Joe is I know so many guys like him. They fall head over heels for a girl who's not worth it. And then like the first episode, he's saying things like, I'll do the cooking and the cleaning because you're a slob, and you just want to punch him in the dick. Look, I will say, as a married man, you have to help out around the house. If you just do, unless you have the wife that will do everything. But even then ends badly. You do have to do stuff. But like I will do everything for you so that you can sit on a throne and write. And I'm just like, right in the dick, pal.
Well, yeah, I mean, I fully agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you guys ever see the movie Mad Love with Chris O'Donnell and Drew Barrymore?
It's been a long ass time since I've seen it.
I feel like I have, but go on.
Okay, I really feel like you have, but it's a movie that paints a picture of codependency. And when one person is mentally ill and the other person is not, but they're unwilling to see that person's mental illness in play, and they become a enabler of the mental illness in part. And that's kind of Joe's entire mentality, is that I'm so desperate to fall in love that I'm going to just enable the behavior of whoever I fall in love with, regardless of the situation. You shit on the floor, I'm going to clean it up. You leave ink all over this, I'm going to clean it up.
Well, not only just clean it up, but it's like, well, it's clear you have to shit on the floor. This is how you express yourself. It's like the worst parent, enabling a child. Like you not only do you allow it to happen, you make excuses rationalizing it. When it's like, no, you have to call that kind of behavior out. I know, Jason, you're like fighting to get in here. Go ahead.
Yeah, and another thing about Joe is why he's doing his quote unquote research. He's seeing all of her, all of the negative qualities of her, and taking those and exploiting them. Like she hangs around these socialite friends, and he's spinning it to where he's putting her on the same level as her and not seeing her for her money.
I love you using the word exploit, by the way. That was key.
Yeah, because both are exploiting each other. He's exploiting her weaknesses and stuff, and she's exploiting his codependency because she sees that she can do no wrong in his eyes. She sees, it's like when they first start going out, she starts, doing all of these things that is showing she's interested in, starts talking, well, I like a bad guy. This is all the people I drive. It starts comparing him to the Benji, the douchebag. And so that leads them to, him trying to go down on her in IKEA. And then she gets pissed off about it. Because,
first of all, I'm just going to say, okay, first of all, having been in IKEA in Brooklyn, which is the only close one to where they are, and that's supposed to be where they are, it is impossible to go down on someone in that IKEA, just saying. And the reason being, Mark, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, there's a lot of your people there on most days deal hunting when there's about 2 hours left in the store to be open, and they're looking for a closeout deal. Just saying, I'm not being anything. I'm not saying that anything that's not true.
Let me help you.
This is what happens.
The way IKEA is made up, if there's too many open spaces, there's not enough places to hide and bang a girl or go down on her or whatever, unless you actually go in the closets.
I mean, no. In this place there's just so many people. Good Lord.
The thinly veiled Oriental room divider there gives you enough privacy.
You mean the Chinese basket?
Yeah. We'll go with that, Pat. Oh, good Lord. Gets us back on the rest. But they exploit each other because, in the first half of the season, you see, Beck's a very damaged individual that Joe's exploiting because she's like fucking everybody that she wants. She's a whore. But you think
the first person you fall in love with a lot of times because they give it up to you is a whore because they gave it up to you the first time when you're 13.
Well,
14 years old.
This isn't who he first fell in love with. He first fell in love with the redheaded chick.
But again, we don't really know that through, and then all of a sudden you shift your focus because she's giving it up, and
but it's like and you see the dynamic change because her friends start buying into it, except for Peach, who is obsessed with fucking Beck as well, because Beck's because she uses her financial and her family's old money to basically buy Beck's attention.
So that begs two questions. Okay, that begs two. One, have you guys ever dealt with a girl who had a friend who was so like protective, we'll say, over said friend that they did not want anything for them to do with you? And two, did you guys know that Peach then in this continuity would be the sister of Matt Salinger, who played Captain America in the 21st Century Pictures version of Captain America in 1991 with the rubber ears?
Okay, so that first question we'll deal with. And yeah, sure. I have both
I'm too drunk
witnessed
to
and
try to figure that second part out, Pat.
we're just gonna go right past it. But yeah, I definitely, especially when in my younger days, I was definitely like a part of a relationship where, it's actually funny because I was really good friends with this one guy, and he had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend saw me as the threat because I was taking the boyfriend away from her, and there was clearly like nothing romantic going on, obviously, but like she just wanted all his attention all the time.
My girlfriend,
and she actually like cornered me one day. She was like, "I don't like that you hang out with my boyfriend," and ultimately it was because like he didn't spend 100% of his time with her. So I've been a part of that, and I've actually seen that happen with other people. It's a pretty common thing.
Musical interlude. I once had a girlfriend, and then one day she dumped me, and everywhere I go, people always ask me where she was. I don't want to talk about her. Someone always asks about her. So I tell them all my girlfriend's dead. And yes,
God.
Robert, it was the one where the Red Skull was Italian that Matt Salinger played Captain America with rubber ears.
When this gets Mark, like a million downloads, when this is the one that breaks us, I'm gonna laugh.
Mark, you know where you're gonna hear the songs that Pat is singing?
Where's my pad? Yes, I do. And as a matter of fact, if you would like to hear the actual songs that Pat is doing karaoke for tonight, you can check out our free 30-day giveaway of the Amazon Music Unlimited service. And that link in the description is getamazonmusic.com/W2M network. Again, that's getamazonmusic.com/W2M network for our free 30-day trial of the Amazon Unlimited service. If you like it, you keep it past the 30 days. You don't, you cancel it. No fuss, no muss, no contract. Okay. So unless there's a whole lot more we're going to talk about Joe, and I do want to say this one thing. Oh, that's what it's like when I do it? Okay, cool. Is again, this when you guys were talking about it before I started watching it, again, there were a lot of Dexter comparisons, and it was a lot of talk of like, oh, well, he's a serial killer.
He's really not.
No, he's not. Like, he's struggling to kill Benji, who's just the world's biggest douchebag. And he finally gets when he realizes he doesn't have a way to deal with Benji that he can trust, and that he knows he'll get away with. He's like, well, I guess he has to die. But it's not like that was always the intention. The intention was just to get him disconnected from Beck.
Yeah.
When he kills Pete, and it's funny because he'll explain this all later to Beck when it all comes out in the wash. And to a certain degree, like, yeah, it was a first degree murder with Benji. He absolutely intended to kill him. With Peach, they were struggling over.
No, not really, because he says because he gives Benji a drink, and he says out of all the lies he's told me, the fucking peanut allergy was actually the truth.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair because he didn't actually intend to murder him at the same time. But do you think there's a point where he's ever going to realize, like, oh, I'm probably never going to be able to set Benji free, so I have to kill him?
Yeah. I look.
I'll point that Chekhov's gun at you.
I'm going to tell you this: if I'm a prosecutor, you can
get alcohol.
Throw any kind of defense out there for how he dealt with Benji. At the end of the day, it was still murder. The Peach one, where they're struggling over the gun, I'm more willing to buy whatever he was there for, it was but whatever was happening prior to that, in the end of the day, it was self-defense. She was trying to kill him too. I forget how they deal with the abusive neighbor boyfriend. Is it Paco that kills him and then he just covers it up?
No, he kills him. Yeah, he covers it up.
But he kills him.
Yeah, he kills him and tells Paco to cover it up, because what happens is he starts being abusive again, and he I think, if I remember correctly, he chases Paco out to the garden, and Paco's running because Paco hits him with a bat, and Paco takes off running, and they go out, and Joe shows up behind him and stabs him with, I think it's a screwdriver in the throat.
Yeah.
And
again, Daniel Cosgrove has never played a likable character in his career. He played in Van Wilder. He played the guy that nobody liked. He played in 90210. He was Brandon Walsh's replacement, and it's like, who's gonna fucking like a replacement for Brandon Walsh? This guy's the heart and soul of the show. So fuck this guy. We don't like him.
So if the hook of this show is that he's a sociopath, it kind of loses me almost from the start, because he's hemming and hawing over killing Benji, and then everything else is either in self-defense or in the midst of like.
Well, let's go to the Peach murder then.
Yeah.
And let's talk about Peach a little bit as a character, because I feel like.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move on to Peach.
Peach Salinger is probably the number 3 character in the show in the first season, behind obviously Joe Goldberg and Guinevere Beck. Peach is Beck's best friend. We'll put that in air quotes for those of you guys listening via audio. She's very self-serving. She constantly manipulates Beck into situations that are favorable to her, where she can.
Beck's her pet.
What's that?
Yeah, Beck's the mean girl. Beck is Regina George. Beck
is Peach's pet.
Yeah, she really is. And Peach kind of gets off on just being able to control Beck and manipulate her and do whatever she wants with her. And this is seen probably most at point when Peach grabs a literary agent for Beck, who is an aspiring writer, and tells the agent, her stuff is, she needs work, but just meet with her. It'll be fine. To set up this meeting for Peach. And Peach is like, oh my God, you're having me meet with this guy who's representing this writer and this writer. This is incredible. You're my friend. You're not going to set me up for failure. And the guy winds up being a douchebag, has no intention of repping her, doesn't care about her writing, thinks it's mediocre, and tries to just bang her in a limo. And Joe is meanwhile. What's up, Jay?
I said like you do.
I said we both said like you do, because who doesn't want to bang a girl in a limo?
Okay, we'll go on.
Oh, bullshit. Did you not go to prom?
Yeah, don't even start that, Pat Mullin.
Okay, I've watched King of New York a few times. So again, Joe is basically trying to protect her again, to try to make him seem more sympathetic. He's been telling her, like, hey, she's not out for your best interest. She's telling this guy this for this. And Peach is like, no, I'm telling you this for this. So Beck meets with the literary agent. He's just trying to fuck her in a limo because she's, a 7 out of 10, and why not? And sure enough, this happens, and Beck is hurt and is all about, my God, Joe tried to tell me this. You didn't lie, blah, blah, blah. And then Joe realizes Peach has got to go because she's going to keep trying to control Beck like this. And Joe, who is taking up running, which I have as well, has figured out what runner's high is, and while running, just takes a big old chunk of rock, whacks Peach right beside the head, and instead of dying like she has the good sense to do, no, she stays alive and figures out, oh, I have a stalker, mainly based on Joe thinking, oh, you might have a stalker.
You're right. I forgot that he hit her with the rock.
Yeah, but
I was
now
focusing so much on the gun thing.
Okay, 2 things here. 1, do you think he tried to kill her with the rock? And 2, you never see how the gun went off. It pans up to the sky, and you just hear the gunshot. So you don't know if it was self-defense or not. He could have got the gun and just fucking executed her. That would have been cool. I would have liked to seen that if that was the case. I think that would have been awesome.
You have a stronger case with the Central Park incident,
Yeah, I 100% believe The Rock was meant to kill her.
Yeah, no, he totally was trying to kill her, and he even says like
Absolutely.
when she doesn't die. I mean,
His reaction is one of, "Oh
shit,
goddamn, she didn't die."
Right? Yeah, like mission not accomplished. So no, he totally tried to kill her. I forgot that. I forgot. I am when they are. If I remember correctly, that scene is she's coming after him with the gun. They start wrestling on the grass. Then it pans up, and then you hear the gun go off.
Yes.
So even if you're saying like, "Oh, he shot her," while they were wrestling over the gun. Her intention was to kill him at that point.
Yeah,
but I still wish it was execution style. That would have been even. Like he just like kicked her in the back, and then just like as she was getting up, just popped a cap in her ass.
Hey, Dad. Remember when Tom had you in a headlock and you kicked him in the back and screamed, "I'm a hemophiliac"? Yeah. Can you teach me how to do that? Yeah.
And
no,
we
listen,
have Robert.
If there's a live gun in play, you do what you got to do. Okay?
Especially if you're Alec Baldwin.
I've only had that happen to me once, and fortunately there was not a homicide in play. There was a maneuver the gun away, get it away, and fucking fight till the cops came. And I was not charged on anything, thank God. Because
we understand that you're not Alec
getting
Baldwin.
the gun and fucking firing it off, which we didn't do. So let's never do that again in my lifetime, because that happened. And I can tell you from being in that situation, you're pissing your pants like a motherfucker. Okay.
All right. Look, we got to move on. And we really haven't. We've talked about her in relation to Joe. We just talked about her in relation to Peach. We have not actually talked about Guinevere Beck at all. And I'll tell you, here's the thing with her. I don't think she's the worst woman ever. On the Adrian scale, she's kind of a 5.
I would agree with that.
You know,
I can say that.
You can't win.
Shut up. She's got stuff. You know, her dad was a drug addict at one point, and she's struggling. And you know, all the horrible men in the world want to put their dick in her. It's and I get it. And she just wants to write poetry. I understand her angst, and her shitty decision making.
God, bad.
I put it in. Just saying.
So it's like, is she kind of basic and blah and not worth all the trouble? Yes. Is she the worst woman ever? No. She's just, and I think that's my other issue with this show is television sort of puts a frame around very interesting, and dynamic people. This is one of those weird shows where, Joe, first of all, there's plenty of sociopaths in the world. So Joe's not that unique. And then you have her, and she's every girl I've ever met ever that I didn't marry. So
wait.
Well,
Go ahead, Jason.
Joe is not the unique one. She's not the unique one. It's just this shit happens all the time.
That's what I'm like. Yeah, like watching this show, and it's like I'm watching this show,
and they meet in the middle somewhere.
I'm just watching this show, and I'm just like, that's another day in the life of shitty white people.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Why they got to be white? That's racist.
Because they are. That's how white people do things.
Because white people would do shit like that.
First of all, I'm a white person in this age range who lives in Brooklyn. There's a lot of fucking really slutty whores out there, and there's a lot of fucking dudes who you see in these bars. You're like, oh, that's a fucking serial killer. That's a fucking serial killer. That dude's
American Psycho.
Well,
American Psycho.
Hold on. This is coming from the guy whose biggest compliment today was, "You just got out too, huh?" So I worry. No, I'm just saying I can respect, Pat's commentary on this being, you could see people like this because there's people out there like this. But
there really are.
Like we discussed earlier, Beck is the most basic bitch. Basically it's cut paste, basic bitch. If you gave her a pair of Uggs and a Starbucks cup for the thing, you check all the bingo cards.
But what we haven't checked about the most basic bitch is Dr. Nikki.
Well, I was getting to that.
Yeah. Okay.
you can't blame her. I mean,
Because
I'll give her a solid pass
if every
for
word
fucking
Dr.
up with
Nick
Jesse.
said could make you laugh, he'd talk forever. If
Yeah,
the
I
song
mean,
he
you know,
sings
she
to
gets.
you, fill your heart with joy, he'd talk forever.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, she gets a pass. I mean, you know, if
No.
my wife fucked John Stamos, I mean, I'd be okay with it. I'd let
that
her
the
have a
hall-
pass. Okay,
I was gonna say, is that the hall pass?
that's one of the hall passes. Which her hall pass is actually Blake Lively, and I fully understand. And that will go into a whole nother conversation about Ryan Reynolds that I'm not ready to have on this podcast right now.
But you're ready to have it about John Stamos. That's fine.
But anyway, yeah, the camo yoga pants.
I have
But
a pair of those,
going
Robert.
back
Don't
to
hate.
this, I've got the TikTok yoga pants that make my ass look good. But anyway, TikTok
Exactly,
made me
Jay.
buy it. TikTok made me
Yeah.
buy it.
Go ahead, Jason.
You know,
You have
I
the floor.
got
Shut
two.
up, Pat. Let Jason talk. For God's sake.
I got two bulldogs that are wrestling over a fine ham back there. But anyway, but anyway, yeah, I'm a little drunk. But anyway, you know,
Prost.
Beck is probably the most horrific person of this because she is so codependent and the world has to revolve around me and it has to be about me, me, me. You just want to make her choke on a dick and just shut the fuck up.
This is not getting monetized. I can see it now.
I thought I was the most, you know, whatever. It's fine, Jay. Go ahead. It's cool.
But I mean, hey, you got full-fledged Jason tonight. A little inebriated.
Hell yeah!
But having good. But you know, it's always a good time
Hey,
with me and Pat.
the world needs nobody halfway.
Exactly. I mean, you know, some people might be into that. I don't know. But anyway, moving on. But yeah, I mean, she is like the absolute worst person. And she's the one that elevates Joe to be likable for all the shit that he does because she's a whore. If all the dicks that stuck out of her, that was put in her, stuck out of her,
so if
she'd be
you
a goddamn
all
porcupine.
my friends know what you got to say. And
Okay.
yo, by the way, and let's hit the hay. And yo, by the way, bam, bam, now.
Since we're almost at an
Top of the
hour,
morning
let's
to
talk
ya.
about this. The conclusion of the show is he puts her in the glass cabinet and he tries to win her over. She ends up manipulating him and playing on his sympathies, and she escapes only to get killed by Joe off camera.
Yeah, she's a fucking skank.
So my
After
question to you guys,
but what's important about this is why she's in there. She's writing his alibi because she's writing the story.
Well, no, she's in there because she found all of the evidence that he's a sociopath.
I'm saying, but while she's in there, she's writing this.
Okay.
While she's in there, she's writing the book that becomes the bestseller after she dies about Dr. Nikki and is framing Dr. Nikki because that's what she is. Telling Joe about is because she's framing everything that she found out about Joe to be Dr. Nikki because she cut the relationship off on him and she's framing it as he's obsessed with her, and that's the story that she writes.
Okay, so to be fair, though, in part, Rachel Fox was her alias for the fox who's texting her and being like, "Oh, you coming over? Blah blah blah. Everything's cool. Blah blah blah." But in fairness, we found out that was an alias for Dr. Nikki. So she's banging John Stamos, which, again, I don't blame most women for because it's John Stamos. It is what it is.
Have mercy.
I mean, it's Uncle Jesse.
Have mercy.
It's Uncle Jesse.
It's Uncle Jesse, exactly. So, who's going to blame a woman for banging Uncle Jesse? But at the same time, she's doing it, and Joe's like, "Oh, no, fuck this. Like, no, we can't have this. Because I'm in true love with you and you're banging Uncle Jesse and my, whatever is not in line and I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill Uncle Jesse."
So I think the ultimate question here
I'm drunk. I'm
is...
going to take a piss.
You're starting to get a little slurry there, Drunky Smurf. Jason, I was struggling with the ending of this because it would seem like And I guess if you lose Joe, you don't have a show. What are you going to do? Have a show about Beck? Nobody wants that. But on the other hand, him finally killing her in the end, I'm like, where do you go from here in a second and now ultimately a third season? I guess we're going to find out.
Season 2 is much better.
I think when I think back about I think about my dad. My dad always tells me he doesn't watch a lot of these shows that we tend to talk about. I'll explain. My dad tells me all the time he doesn't watch a lot of the shows that we tend to talk about on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network and think are good shows because he doesn't like to root for what are ostensibly bad people. So like he doesn't watch Oz or The Wire or The Shield or
My Little Pony,
or any of those shows because it's always like
the best is ready to begin. As long as we got each other. We got the world spinning right in our hands, baby, you and me. We gotta be the luckiest dreamers ever been dreaming. As long as we keep on vodka, we can take anything that comes our way. Baby Jeremy Miller,
baby, you and
all the time. We got each other, sharing the Cameron and love. Sharing the Cameron and love.
Have you heard the story where Pat?
Know,
yeah.
You want to know how Beck wrote her? You want to know how Beck wrote her novel so elegantly?
How?
Was that?
She used Grammarly.
Yeah.
Fucking lost Jason. Yes. I'm sure Beck wrote most of her papers on the computer using Grammarly, and Grammarly will help you too. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and really anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M Network. Again, it's getgrammarly.com/W2M Network to download Grammarly for free. Before Pat breaks into another song, which I thoroughly enjoy, but just to make his last point.
Yeah.
I'm also not peeing, so it's fair.
You shouldn't be cheering for somebody who commits cold-blooded murder, but he's the star of the show, and I'm just trying to figure out why, as an audience member, you cheer for Vic Mackey because he takes the gangs off the street.
Yes,
he's
he
using
does.
brutal methods to eliminate crime, and if he steals a little extra, Armenian drug money for himself, who's to say he hasn't earned it?
Nobody cares.
You cheer for McNulty because he's at the end of the day, he's trying to solve murders in one of the worst murder capitals in the United States, Bmore, where we aim to hit a MLK
Boulevard, what's up?
So my point is, like, all of these people that we like in these shows, you have a reason to cheer for them despite their less than stellar ways. I don't have a reason to cheer for Joe, and when he kills Beck and Beck dies, I'm like, okay, well, the bad guy he's the bad guy of the show. He got away with it, and there's nothing about him that's likable. Go ahead, Pat.
Okay, so here's the thing with Joe, right? Does anybody doubt? Okay, I'm going to enlist you two as my volunteers because we don't have anybody else except for commentary, which includes Robert Winfrey. Does anybody doubt that Joe actually loves Beck?
No, I think he's infatuated.
No, I think he does love Beck, but who's to say love's not insane or informed by insanity?
So Mark says yes. Jay, you say?
I say no. I think it's just an infatuation. I think.
Okay, so we got one yay and one nay, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go with yay, right? Okay. This whore who bangs Dr. Nikki, bangs Benji, bangs these dudes, right? She's banging all these dudes.
Choke on a dick.
Exactly. And Joe is like, no, she's not banging these dudes. It's fine. She loves me. she's banging me, everything's cool. And then she basically finds out, like, oh, have you been banging Dr. Nikki? Yeah, I've been banging Dr. Nikki. Oh, you've been banging John Stamos, who's the most impossibly good-looking man ever. You fucking skank. Bang,
Next to
bang,
Ryan Reynolds.
dang it, dang. But instead of doing bang, dang, bang it, dang it like any normal man would, he decides he's going to murder her.
Like you do.
The book chamber.
All right, go ahead, Jason.
The most disturbing part of this, and I'm going to point this out because I want your guys' take on it. The most disturbing part of this is Paco, because Paco sees her trying to get out, and he, instead of helping her, he turns a blind eye and runs away, leaving her to know, knowing what is going to happen, because he knows what Joe's capable of. But
Paco's a fucking dickhead.
See, I was going to say he's loyal to Joe. He owes Beck nothing.
Your whore mouth about. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it.
No,
I'm saying the most fucked up.
Paco's a dickhead.
I'm saying the most fucked up thing is he knows what Joe's capable of, so he knows when he turns and doesn't help her, he's sealing her death. And yeah, he's Joe for life.
He's also a child, and cognitive dissonance is real. All he's thinking is, I don't want to get involved here
again
because Joe just got me out of a jam. Go ahead, Pat.
Maybe I can be of use in this because I was a child who was in let's say an abusive relationship with a parent.
You left somebody to die.
Pat's sharing with the group. Let's go.
Okay.
So again, I point to over the top right there. Just saying.
Your father arm wrestled for custody of you?
Yes.
My dad would have arm wrestled custody. Would have lost. Just saying.
So did you flip the?
My dad was a bitch.
Just
saying. Okay. So Paco, who I think is the one character that everybody in this show can sympathize with, right?
Yes.
Because
true.
He's a child in an abused home with a mother who continually puts up
with a whore
boyfriend because of his job standing and whatever. Okay. So again, my parents split in 95, whatever. My mom did a bunch of losers in 96. There was a dude who named Bill, okay, who was the longest standing of the losers. And he would bring me wires and stuff to like play with my RC cars and stuff. And this fucking guy would bring, oh yeah, you can rewire it and make it faster or whatever. But this fucking asshole still lived with his mom. So what the fuck? Who gives a shit? He's a fucking loser trying to date my mom. And that's all I saw. So I was like, fuck this guy. So eventually, as you do with people who are trying to date your parents, you fucking X them out and be like, nah, fuck you, you're asshole. So Paco, to an extent, he realizes that Joe is not trying to date Claudia. He's not trying to be his dad, whatever. But Joe is actually trying to be there for him as a person who understands what he's going through. And Paco, going through with the murderous impulses and stuff, I was almost kind of hoping Joe would turn him into an apprentice, because there's, quite frankly, too many people. There's not enough people who understand how murder can be a good thing, and Paco could have been one of them. And Joe just blows the opportunity.
That was almost bourbon.
Yes. So now it's time for Jason to share with the class.
Okay, go ahead, Jason. This is a safe space, public on the internet.
We don't have space safe, god damn it.
Shut up, Drunky Smurth. Go ahead, Jason.
So
Jason, this tattoo on my goddamn arm. I'm handy, goddamn.
All right, so let's. I relate to Paco, simply because I grew up in a domestic violence household. My real dad committed suicide when I was 3 years old. My mother, the person I thought as the father figure in my life for my formative developmental years, was very drunk and abusive. The kind of that led to my sophomore year of high school, me getting woke up due to a drunk driving incident that killed the person that I thought viewed as a stepfather, and one of their friends and my mother went to jail. Not many people know this. I mean, a lot of you guys close to me know that, this past January I lost my mother unexpectedly, and the guy that she was married to for the past 21 years, who was technically my stepfather, was very abusive as well. Not only physically but mentally, to the point where me and my mother didn't have the best of relationships. She had to sneak and call me, and I'll be honest with you. There was not a day that go by when I found out that he had health problems. I didn't wish that he would go ahead and die so my mom could find peace. Ironically, my mother and him passed on the same day within 8 hours of each other. So I know the abusive relationship and someone staying with somebody because they don't feel that they're good enough for anyone else and they can't find happiness outside of themselves. So I can relate to that. I see myself in Paco a lot. So that's why I wanted to ask you guys the instance where Paco turns, because in Joe's mind, he sees Paco that as the kid that he was when Mooney took him in, as that father figure, not so much the quote unquote pseudo father, but the male figure that is guiding his life and shaping him to be a formidable adult and showing him right from wrong, which Joe's idea of right from wrong is completely fucked up. But anyway, but that's the relationship that I seen that Joe took with Paco was the same relationship he and Mooney had, except without the abuse. Because Joe knows what that abuse done to him. So Joe was kind of more nurturing to Paco than Mooney was to him. So he was just trying to be the male positive figure in Paco's life. And that's where I think Paco, and I would love for this to come back in a later season, with Paco being the deciding factor, because basically Paco sealed Beck's fate by showing his commitment to the friendship he had with Joe and leaving her be and leaving her behind without helping her. And that's where I was wanting your guys' take on.
He said the bathroom is the best place to hide stuff above tiles.
Yeah, so he basically ratted Joe out, and that started the snowball effect of fuckery.
Yeah, but he didn't know that Joe was hiding teeth and cell phones up there.
He really didn't. So Beck going up to search, it's like there's 50.
Yeah,
okay,
she's a nosy bitch.
You didn't trust him, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you shouldn't have trusted him because he's got all these things like about you. You shouldn't have trusted him. But the same time, it's like you violated his trust. So, what do you like?
Okay, so
after you smash the phone, why to keep it? Why keep the phone after you smash it?
Memento. Let me ask you. So Jason, what is your question directly for me regarding Paco and letting Beck die? Basically, what do you want to know from me?
How does that, from a professional standpoint, if you had, how do you view that from a professional standpoint per se?
I mean, look, first of all, he's a child. Making questionable decisions as a child kind of goes with the territory.
Yeah, but it led to somebody's murder.
Dude, you both just told very tragic circumstances of your life, which I'm sure led to some not great decisions you've made between the ages of whenever all that was happening and the current age you're at now. Yeah,
whatever.
Pat.
I've not made any questionable decisions ever.
None. So
ever.
Other than Jason,
whoops.
Other than Jason, his perfection and whatever the hell Pat just did.
Pat's breaking shit.
In all fairness, again, making the whole point of being a child is to sort of, touch hot stoves and trip over rocks and sort of figure life out. And there's going to be your parents to make sure you don't get too burned or too hurt in the process. When you don't have those there, when you don't have a stable living environment to help shape your decision making and your behavior as you age and mature, you're going to just continue to make poor decisions. And I look at Paco, he spent 90% of the season in the hallway because his mother was either banging or getting banged. So that was a domestic violence joke, everybody. She was either getting beat up or she was having sex with the guy. Like there was no in between there.
Irish sunglasses.
So the fact that Paco, when having to make a quick second decision, in a morally, a quick second decision in a situation where I think for most people they would be like, no, you save the trapped woman. What else do you think you're going to do? But he had just within minutes of that happening, he had just had to bury a guy that was killed in front of him. I don't think he's
been a while. It was a time in between.
Close enough. I mean, considering how easy it is to be traumatized in the human condition, I'm going to guess that situation affected him and will continue to affect him if we ever see him again in seasons forward. So my point being, what did I think of it? I think that was a logical decision for him to make, being a child, in that situation. He owed back nothing.
So again,
hang on. He owed back nothing. He had really no connection to Beck except through Joe.
Right.
And he didn't know what the context was. He didn't know what the situation was. And oh, by the way, Joe saved him from getting killed by whatever the his name was.
Ron. Yeah.
Ron.
Again.
Go ahead, Pat.
Being in that child mentality where you have an adult who's coming at you and you're like, oh my God, I don't know if this guy's trying to kill me or just hurt me or whatever. You're thinking at that point, okay, I'm going to do whatever needs to be done to keep me alive and this guy not alive.
Right.
And that's a really fucked up thing to say, but I've been in that situation and, it is what it is, where my dad would, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go really personal on this and people can enjoy it. People can not enjoy it, whatever. I was in the 7th grade and my dad would tie one on and be like, you're the problem, et cetera, and I'll be like, I'm not the problem, et cetera, and we just go into it, and I'd fucking, just do whatever I had to do and go at my dad, and it was really horrible, and we'd fight tooth and nail to the point where I had to beat him down and just do whatever I had to do to, fight to survive, and then grab, school clothes and whatever and drop them out the window of my bedroom and hang drop from the fire escape and drop down and go stay at the aunt and uncle's to pretend nothing was wrong and everything's fine. My dad's in Maryland. It's all cool. And, these are the things you had to do to pretend that everything was fine and, whatever.
So we got to start getting towards conclusion here. Jason, this being something you were passionate and wanted to talk about, though you jokingly also keep calling it a shit show. What left unsaid here did you want to talk about with season 1? And really what I want to know from you is, why did you stay once he's killed Beck and you're like, okay, he's an irredeemable character, where other than one, because the stinger at the end is Candace is it's implied he killed Candace, and that's certainly what Beck thought of him before she bought it. And then when Candace shows up again, like, oh, she's alive. WTF. So it's a great stinger for season 2. But other than that, just wanting to know what was the situation with him and Candace, I would love to know from you, after he killed Beck in cold blood, what is the reason for continuing to watch this show?
Because, like I said, it's a shit show. And I say that with the most sincere condensation, is because it's America. We watch. No, I mean, I'm serious. We watch tragedies. We rubberneck on horrific car accidents. As a former EMT, I've seen it all the time. You want to see other people's tragedy as entertainment, and that's our society.
It's dramatic train wreck television as opposed to reality train wreck television.
Right, instead of scripted television that people pose as reality television. Because in each and everything, you can relate with somebody on this show. You can relate with, the basic bitch Beck that is a whore because she doesn't think she's worthy. The psycho Joe that is the probably, if you boil it down, one of the worst characters of this, but everybody else in the circle of friends is so pathetic and horrible. He's redeemable.
Okay.
You could everybody knows Peach, that is that obsessive friend that will do anything to protect, air quotes for all those watching, listening on audio, their friend to be a cock blocker.
Jason froze again. Pat, you want to weigh in here?
Yeah, so Peach again, you know, we didn't talk entirely about her, but
okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I froze up. So Pat shared, we related with Paco. There was a character that you can relate on some level with everybody in this show. And that is the train wreck that we find of entertainment as a society now, because we all know that instant gratification through social media. I mean, hell, we're doing a podcast on it. And we all want that quote unquote love and validation from our peers and the people around us and strangers. And that's what's wrong with us, because we carry strangers' validation more than what we consider our close friends and our inner circle's validation. And I'll end with that.
I just want Robert Winfrey's validation. I'll never get it, but that's all I want in this world. I have my
everybody
wife.
wants. Everybody wants Robert's validation because he is the supreme.
I was gonna say I have the love of my wife and children. That's old hat. What I want that I don't have is Robert Winfrey's validation, but I'm never gonna get it, and that is my trouble. That is my quandary. Pat, I'll let you have the final word on this show. I will say this to you, Jason. I'm anxious to watch season 2. When we get to it at the end of November, I will. Now that I know what I'm in for,
yes, Pat, you are invited back. You are invited back, Pat.
Wow.
I'm excited to see what happens with season 2, so I won't quite be as like why with this. At least now I know what I'm in for. But that's it. That's all I have to really say about this. Is like this was a rough go at first. I kind of got into it. I was more curious as to why you guys watch this. And now that we've had that discussion, I can kind of just lay back and go, okay, let's see what happens next. Pat, I'll give you the final word and we'll get out of here.
So the first 6 episodes, a little bit tough to get through. I'm not gonna lie to you. The second 6 episodes, really, really fun. But at the same time, it's one of those things that it's really geared, and I'm not gonna lie, it's really geared toward lowly men who don't understand women. And
it's a show for neckbeards. Okay, I get it.
It really is a show for neckbeards, and it's one of those things where it's like, let's reach out to these poor bastards. And
saying hi to Phoenix.
Hi, Phoenix.
Ray Phoenix?
No, the city Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
So it is what it is, and that's where we're at. And I enjoy the narrative, but in the second season, I really don't. Third season, it picks back up, but
I have not seen the third season yet. I'm holding out for my rewatch of season 2 to we dive into the third season.
All right, folks, that is our drunken review of
drunken. How dare
drunk? You? Yeah, who's drunk?
You, season 1. Which you can now watch on Netflix. We dropped a shit ton of content, not just today, but this entire week. From the top, we had our re-airs of Paranormal Activity: Long Road to Ruin, parts 1 and 2, which covered movies 1 through 4. Myself and Ronnie Adams. Ronnie Adams. At some point, we reviewed. At some point, we reviewed The Last Duel. I don't remember when. Yeah, that's it. It was Sunday. Myself and Chris Bailey reviewed Crown Jewel. We are getting the band back together for Survivor Series. So if you've been missing Mr. Chris Sheehan on 605. He will be back with us on Survivor Series. I'm relegating Harry to covering independent shows. Anyway.
Ooh, wow.
He knows. He knows what's up. But speaking of independent, myself and Sean Comer reviewed Donnie Darko for its 20th anniversary. That was fun. Jesse started his 6-part run of Rise of the Midnight Suns. He's been dropping one show a day leading up to Halloween. Myself, David Wright, and Robert Winfrey reviewed Dune 2021 Part 1. Wednesday, myself, Jesse Starcher, and Robert Cooper reviewed the new self-titled Halloween that dropped in June. Yesterday, we re-aired our split 7-inch of Gem and the Holograms, and Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension. It's a really fun show. I re-listening to it. We had a good time with that, despite its weird content. Gavin came on to discuss Ted Lasso. Earlier today, myself and Alexis Hana did a triple feature. It was Scooby-Doo meets Courage, Straight Out of Nowhere, Muppets Haunted Mansion, and My Little Pony: The Next Generation. Tomorrow, speaking of Jesse and Alexis, I'm not even on camera. I don't know what you're doing. They are hosting a Tripped Up Trivia focusing on horror movies just in time for Halloween. So that'll be fun.
Jay, are you on that?
No, I'm not. I wasn't even invited. So
what?
Pisses me off.
And then in the evening time, once the UFC wraps up, myself and Robert Winfrey will be doing a alternative commentary for Jose Zepeda versus Josu Vargas on ESPN Plus. Yay! Boxing alternative commentary, my favorite thing. And then on Halloween, we've got a whole bunch of shit dropping. We've got Jesse, once again, Jesse and Alexis. Power Rangers on A Nightmare on Elm Street, their crossover nobody wanted, but got anyway. We are re-airing our Trick or Treat Reanimated review, which was a covers album by Italian progressive metal band Trick or Treat. We have the final part of Rise of the Midnight Suns, and just put on the calendar because it was announced today, Limp Bizkit is dropping. Limp Bizkit is dropping a new album on Fuck Off on Halloween called something like Still Stink or something like that. Come here. Here, Robert, I want to plug this right now, and I want you to be on camera when we do.
We're also doing a Nightmare Before Christmas show.
Yep, no, that's not what I want to talk about, though. We on Halloween.
Jonas, don't do it. Jonas, don't do it.
He can't hear you. Myself and my children will be doing an alternative commentary for A Nightmare Before Christmas, but that's not all. For The Great American Teach-In, my son is making me come in to talk about podcasting, and so to demonstrate what podcasts for the children, we were going to be reviewing the HBO Max 3-part miniseries, Aquaman, King of Atlantis. How do you feel about that? All right.
I feel like you should just play this. I feel like you should just play this episode for all the kids in the class.
Yeah, sure. That'll go over well. Anyway, that's it. So we're going to be reviewing the new Limp Bizkit album Halloween night. And then that's it. Then we're into November. Next week, Eternals comes out. We'll be reviewing that. Then Ghostbusters, we'll be reviewing that. And a whole bunch of other mixed up messes. No, but it'll be the most accurate thing talking them all day.
Behave.
Yes, what he said. Well, no, wait. Oh, there goes Pat.
Okay. Pat just left us.
Go ahead and do your...
Pat has tapped out for the night.
Pat has left the building.
All right, so I always love recording with Pat. So anytime when Pat said that he wanted to jump on, I was thrilled and exacerbated. And I didn't say masturbated; I said exacerbated. Maybe I did masturbate because Pat was on here, but that's a whole different story. But anyway, you can find me on the Second and Short podcast. We drop daily TikToks. Ty is knocking it out of the park with those. You can find us on all of your podcasting platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and where we do YouTube. I'm not as inebriated on those shows because Ty makes sure that I'm coherent. Unlike Mark.
You.
Well, that's
I pay with love. I pay with love.
That's beside the point. You pay with hugs. But you can catch me back here. I think my next appearance is the 28th when we're doing season 2 of You, which I'm really thrilled for you to see because it definitely is an improvement over season 1. It's more of a psychological thing, I think. And that's why I wanted you to do this is from the professional standpoint, because to see how all the quirks and the mental issues that these people have. That's why I really wanted you to see this, is because they get your professional view of how fucked up these people are and just, wallow in the greatness of how society is. And then,
your next show is November 28th. That's when we're doing You season 2. But then 2 days later, you're on the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City show. So
I was getting ready to say that. Let me do my fucking plugs, okay? I'm Jesse Starcher. I've got 10 minutes of plugs, okay? Anyway, but yes. Then 2 days later, after me and Mark wrap up You Season 2, I'm back for Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which I'm really stoked about after seeing the trailer with all the Easter eggs and stuff from all of the early Resident Evil games. So with that, definitely follow me at my Twitter, as you can see, at Teasley, TZLEY2822 on Twitter. Follow the Second and Short podcast on Twitter, and definitely look us up on YouTube and like, subscribe, and comment.
Thanks for joining us on TV Party tonight. I'm Mark Radulich. That's Jason Teasley, and over there, drunk and falling down, is Pat Mullin. Be well, be safe, and behave.